In this tutorial, we're going to be looking for resizing images, and I had experienced a few times during my class that students were not really paying attention at this first step by starting doing an illustration, and it was not unusual to have images that should be in an A4 size ending up in A6 size because they just forgot to really check a few steps. So we're going to see this together. I have at first an image which is 5 to 5 centimeters on 72 pixels per inch, and I'm opening this file. We can see already that at the moment we open the file it's quite small. So if I open a new file and instead of 72 inches I give 300 inches, I go up to the centimeters and I see that automatically it reduced to 1.2. So I'm resizing it to 5 centimeters. By clicking a little bit up and down, we can check that this whole thing won't change anymore. So now we can see the difference between 72 pixels and 300 pixels per inch. If I increase the size of this file a little bit, just the way we see it, not the actual size of it, and I'm just going to grab a tool that I know that works quite sharp on the edges. One that I really like to be working with is Feather, and as a variant it's called in German Wachschaber. So this may be a very good tool for people doing comics. It gives a very nice smooth line. So I'm just going to make a drawing up here, and I'm going to do exactly the same line with the same tool on the 300 pixels per inch. We can see the difference. So the size of the brush, it's, although I didn't change it, much larger than on the 300 pixels per inch, and we can see the edges are very pixely, so makes a big difference. And if I say, well, I can resize it afterwards, so that I have from the 72 pixels per inch good large resolution, well, it's not impossible to change the resolution of the file. If you go to Arbeitsfläche Bildgröße einstellen, if you do not select the resizing box, we can as well go to 300 pixels per inch, but the problem is that this is going to have now the real size, but you can see that now we have exactly the same image and they are exactly the same size. The difference is that I'm going to have all the information that I had on the image before is going to still have this very blurry edge. If I start working on it again with the same tool, now everything that I add to this image is going to be right, but everything I had in there before is not going to be working. So this is something I really wanted to show you guys, like depending on if on the image you have, if it's something that is already very blurry through the technique, it could help to increase the size of it and then start working on this base. But I would not recommend doing it. I would recommend restarting from zero again by opening from the beginning on a file size which is already large enough. And if you have an image, I'm just going to close this once. If you have an image that you just need to increase a little bit on the right or on the left of the image, you would be able then to resize it by going to Arbeitsfläche, Arbeitsflächengröße, and you can change in Painter this information by changing the pixels. So I would just go increase 500 pixels to the left. I would use as a tool, since this is a photo, maybe you have a painting and you can just start painting on the side, but if you're working with a photo or something that you cannot really do much painting around and it's very homogenic, so that you can with no problem add some information by using a stamp, you have to stamp options. You have like a brush stamp and the normal stamp. We have like a brush cloner and the normal stamp. And you can see that the size is very small. I would increase the size by pressing Option Command. You get a cross. You click and drag and you get a larger brush. And by holding the Option key and clicking on a certain area, you can just go to the left and add this area on your illustration. Of course, it's not always perfect how it adds. In this case, we're a little bit lucky. We can as well increase some information around here. This is an image that helps us working this way. It's not always so easy to be working with a stamp. You have to check if this is the right option. You can decrease afterwards the size of the stamp just to add some more information. Like I would maybe take out some information that are very present, just to change it a little bit. So this would be an option for you to increase the size of the file without having to work on the resolution.